Alright guys, welcome back again. Today is another day. I have interesting video to share with you guys, especially African American. When I first got this video, I was like, wow, this video is very interesting. One thing I learned when I moved to United States is, here in US, when you're talking about Africa, most people believe that, or most people think that African is full of shit. Yeah. You know, sometimes I don't blame them because of what they have been shown and what they have been told. Alright guys, if you're new here, kindly please do me one favor. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my video, share my video, comment my video, push the bell button so that you don't miss my upcoming video. Until then, see you in another one. Alright guys, enough talking, let's begin.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
I sent a tweet out where we talked about in that interview there about the economic opportunities that exist for African Americans doing business in Ghana. And of course, you had some fools who always have to comment on certain stuff who began to chirp, calling the year of return a scam. You have these people who say, oh, how does this benefit black people in the United States? Here's what's interesting. The Mandela Research Company did a study to show that African Americans spend every year $63 billion on travel. Most of that is in the United States. Yet, when African Americans, what's the number one international destination? Caribbean. Number two, Mexico. So to all the haters out there about the year of return and the black people who are traveling to Ghana, let me ask y'all a question. How much money are black folks getting when we go to the Caribbean or go to Mexico? When black people are going to France and visiting all the museums, please tell me how African Americans are, quote, benefiting. See, this is why I can't stand and why I called out some people who've never been to Africa, who also don't have a passport, who love to run, and thirdly, who ain't never run a business, running their mouths about what black folks should be doing and who's benefiting. Here's the reality. There are African Americans who have tour companies who have been creating these various tours of the folks who are going to Ghana. Now, if we're going to Mexico and going to France, and all of a sudden I see a whole bunch of black people on social media going to Thailand, please explain to me why we can't go to Ghana. There are resorts in Haiti. Tell me why we can't go to Haiti. So please explain to me why we don't have the opportunity. While I was in Ghana, I was talking to a woman who told me about a sister from the United States who wanted to create her own waste management company. Well, if you look at the United States, the company Waste Management dominates this industry in the U.S. So she said, where could I take this knowledge and desire for a waste management company and be able to create something that's a business? She goes to Ghana and is doing very well. Years ago, I interviewed a sister who's a big-time golfer who left Maryland and moved to Ghana, who opened 2 golf stores and was a golf pro there as well. Business. Why am I saying all of that? Because here you have Ghana, probably next to Nigeria, arguably the most advanced economy in Africa, that needs, as the president just said, the expertise and the knowledge of African Americans. Yet the problem that we have to contend with is that there are black people in the United States who are so ignorant to the fact that our perceptions and view of Africa have been the result of white folks in media. There are black people today who literally ask the question, do they have hot water there? What do they eat there? I was talking to my tour driver. I got it on video. There was a white woman from Canada who was upset because she thought when she came to Ghana, she was going to see people living in trees. You heard the president say in that interview, no, we are not swinging from trees here in Ghana. So what I would like is for African Americans to recognize that when we are running around with these perceptions and I heard this and heard that, it's really been driven by white media, by those Tarzan movies, by all these other movies and television shows. Y'all know, if you ask somebody about Africa, you know what they first gonna say? Flies all around some poor African kid's face in one of those Feed the People commercials. That's really what sort of drives this whole view. And so when I talked about the creation of opportunities, and people start saying, well, how's that gonna help us? I said, do you know how dumb y'all sound? There are people from all across the world opening businesses in the United States. Hell, in black neighborhoods. So explain to me, how is it the rest of the world can participate in a global economy, but somehow African Americans can't participate in a global economy? And so if you're African American, consider Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, South Africa, and other places for opportunity. When you see this 2-hour special we're putting together, you will see me interviewing expatriates, African Americans who have been living in Ghana 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. You will see how individuals are doing. You will see how they are taking their knowledge and bringing it to that country. As the president said, vast resources. If you listen to the interview, he said, when African Americans get over this and recognize the vast resources and people that we have here, then you will see the level of opportunity. Who's putting money in Africa? The Chinese are.
There you go.
Who's putting money in Africa? The Lebanese are.
Yes.
All of these other people across the globe are putting money in the continent. And where are we? 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are African nations. Now see, here's part of the problem here. See, some of y'all keep listening to uninformed black folks who perpetuate the notion that we're broke. I played the video for you of John Hope Bryant, who said that if you're African American, if you got $50,000 or $100,000 saved up, and see, some of y'all are probably saying, those are unicorns. No, they're not. Talk to the black people who have pensions, and you will see what those pensions deliver. He said if you look at the currency in South Africa, the rand is trading at 12 to 14, so 12 to 14 to the dollar. So he says if you get $100,000 US dollars, if you move to South Africa, you're a millionaire. Yeah, 100,000 times 12 or 14. The cedi in Ghana, the exchange rate is 5.7. So that means if you had 10,000 US dollars, that means that translates into 50,700 Ghanaian dollars. That's a different economic outcome. I was talking to Michelle McKinney Hammond, who said that her home in Ghana cost what she spends in 6 months for her home in Ghana was what she would spend monthly in Chicago. I interviewed a brother who moved his whole family from Chicago. Why am I laying all of this out? It's because the only way black people, African Americans, are going to think differently is when this changes. I said that in the interview. Africans have a view that has been driven by colonizers. We have perspectives driven by white supremacy. Too many of us were not born reading black newspapers, reading Claude Burnett's Associated Negro Press, understanding where we come from. Yeah, we have to admit what white supremacy has done to us and how we view our own people. Now, I see some of y'all comments. Some of y'all say, well, Africans feel this way when they come here. Who do you think they got it from? Let me further unpack that. When somebody says, well, Africans feel this way about black people, how do they know that? By movies, by TV shows, by mass media. So if we have not gotten a fair shake through mass media, of course the world is going to think black people are one way when that's what mass media has shown them. Reverse it. What's our view of Africans? Same thing. The president of Ghana said is that when we deal with what he called the mental and intellectual institution, and you heard him say, when African Americans wake up to the people and the resources on this continent, what I am saying to you is that it is shameful to listen to people who say the year of return is a sham. Because when I saw black people, African Americans, learning the history, learning about what took place, things not seen in our history books, learning about the various tribes and chiefs in Ghana, learning about the knowledge and the history there, it gives you a whole different appreciation for education. Because see, we got to be honest. What we have been taught about Africa is they ain't nothing but a bunch of jungle people who are broke and starving, which is why we went to a place in Ghana where you thought you were driving through Beverly Hills. That's why I talked to a brother who is developing a $250 million, 2,100-acre master plan community that will build 25,000 homes that will service 100,000 people, that will have shops and schools, that will have infrastructure, all those different things. Here's the reality. There's an opportunity for us in developing nations that's different than where we are in this country where stuff is already developed. So why is it? In fact, it was interesting. The interview with the brother doing the master plan development, he says that normally what happens in Ghana is that you just build a house and you pay for it in cash. And some people may take 10 years. But there's a problem. He says there's no infrastructure. He said, we don't have a mortgage system. He said, Ghana is wide open for black people who understand the mortgage business. Let me help y'all even further. He said there are many Ghanaians in the United States who are buying homes there. He said, so the opportunity for black banks is to actually finance Ghanaians or even African Americans and others who want to buy a home there through our financial instruments right here. So you ain't even got to leave the country to participate in the economy of Ghana. This is not about selling anybody on one African nation. There are 55 countries in Africa. What this is about is for black people to stop believing white supremacy and to understand that there's an opportunity for us to have a mutually beneficial relationship, but that only will happen if we stop listening to people who don't travel, who never sat across the table from anybody, who don't even own a business in the U.S. If anybody is trying to tell you about not doing business in Ghana, who don't even have a business here, tell them shut the hell up. It's time for some folks to grow up. It's time for some of y'all to stop listening to those people who don't know jack. I want to go to my panel now. Your thoughts about the interview, go ahead.
Well, I was just wanting to go back to your point about the $63 billion in tourism. I think that one of the things that was the best part about the return to Ghana is how welcoming it was. Because Black people, we do the treks, right? We do trek to Miami for Memorial Day weekend or New Orleans for Essence Festival. And we're not always treated that well. You know, they add automatic gratuity because they feel like Black people don't tip.
CIAA,
right?
The biker stuff in Florida and in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. We go all these places and complain about how we're treated when we travel.
Exactly. And it's so cool to go to Dubai. It's so cool to go to, I've been to those places, Thailand and Mexico. Why can't it be just as cool to go to Ghana? So I think that what they did was absolutely amazing. And Black people, we should go spend our money where our money is welcome instead of spending our money where we're treated like second-rate or second-class citizens. And if you have the capital or the expertise to have some investments, wherever that may be, whether it's Ghana or, like you said, any other 55 African countries, then go on ahead and take advantage of that as well. It's completely asinine to write off something without even exploring it if you have the means to invest in something like that.
You talk about infrastructure in these countries underdeveloped right at the time right now. One of the issues I deal with is energy poverty. And it's 1.8 billion people around the world without electricity. There are a lot of these people living in Africa. Right now, I also deal with the African Energy Chamber of Commerce. And Africa is open to doing business when it comes to natural gas and oil. They are not caught up in this global, this climate change as much as we are here in the United States. So when you start talking about opening your mind to opportunities, that's what's taking place right now in Africa right now. You mentioned China. China just put in a huge amount of money into developing offshore and energy development in Africa.
Yeah, because what China's doing, China realizes they had dwindling resources, and so China is doing exactly what colonizers did 100, 200 years ago. That's what they're doing, okay? And what the African countries are dealing with is you need investment for infrastructure.
We'll give it
now, unfortunately, a lot of bad deals are being cut because, frankly, when you have nobody else to compete with the Chinese, hey, that's really all that you got. And so I'm not under the illusion that you're gonna have African Americans who can maybe walk into African nations with $1 billion, $2 or $3 billion. But what I am saying is that if you step back and look at how are economic opportunities created, they are created where there is a need. The president is there saying is that African Americans have a level of expertise that we don't have. If you take expertise with need, you now have opportunity.
Sure.
And so that's the thing. But it's amazing to me, Lauren, listen, again, the people who go, oh, this is a marketing deal. I remember in the late 70s and 80s seeing the commercials. Jamaica. Come back to Jamaica, make it your home. That was the Jamaican tourism industry that targeted the United States, and guess what? It worked. So I don't care if Ghana has a tourism board that is trying to get African Americans to come to Ghana. Okay, I'm cool with that.
Right.
I mean, because again, Black people are traveling all over the place spending money. How in the hell is it a bad idea if we choose to spend our tourism dollars in the Bahamas, Black, in Jamaica, Black, or in Ghana, Black?
Right, yeah. There's a few things. One is I met the president of Barbados at Art Collins' brunch during CBC week.
Prime Minister of Barbados.
Yeah, Prime Minister of Barbados, and she was unbelievable. It kind of reminds me of how now these nations are starting getting more and more involved, you know, over here with our politics as an advantage, which I think is a great thing. I wouldn't pay any attention to these people online because the people criticize, because it's sort of like, you know, with social media, part of the currency now is just that you run your mouth about whatever it is that's happening. And criticize it.
The reason I'm calling them out is because, again, this is a huge issue. It's the lack of knowledge. No, seriously.
Right.
It's the lack of knowledge. It's African Americans not realizing so if you have this view of Africa, first of all, too many people think Africa is a country.
Yeah, right. And not a continent.
I mean, no, that just doesn't be straight up. Okay, that's first. If you ask somebody how many countries in Africa, most of them can't tell you it's 55. Okay, and that East Africa
ain't the same as West Africa
it's not.
or Central Africa
Right.
or North Africa or South Africa, any of those. But again, so what I'm trying to do is to get us to say, I mean, let me open this. Let me realize that my view of Africa has been formed, frankly, through the prism of white folks.
Well, they think that they're, you know, so woke to sort of know that. But what you end up realizing is that one of the things that makes you famous and popular in this life right now with the type of technology that we have is just simply punching up and criticizing what anyone else is doing. In fact, there's an entire industry for that. It's really called op-eds and opinions in the newspaper and our journalism. Like, that is what gets you clicks. That is what gets you attention. You can do an entire career off of that right now. You can do an entire career off of producing absolutely nothing other than criticism. And frankly, if you have no talent, if you can't sing or dance, if you can't sing like Aretha Franklin or you can't play an instrument, that's what you can do. People typically gravitate to the things that they can do. And so criticizing what you're doing or criticizing like what everyone else is doing, it's become currency. And people make money off of it. So it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, really, previous to our current social media situation, if you think about it, so much was based on actually doing things and going out and doing things and not just staring at the computer screen. Now it's sort of taken over by that. And so when you think about, you know how it is, Roland. You think about the speaking fees and the criticism. It's like you can build an entire career off that. And that's what people do.
The thing here is, what I'm looking at here is what is opportunity. Because, see, let's take gentrification. I'm really sick and tired of black people talking about gentrification.
While they're selling their property.
Now again, let me unpack this.
Washington, D.C.
Right.
Does it mean
Brooklyn,
that I support gentrification? No. What I'm saying is, I'm tired of us talking about gentrification
Right.
and not doing something about gentrification.
Right.
When I moderated the Urban League State of Black America deal, that was a big piece of their report with the Howard Theater. And I turned and I said to Mark Morial, I said, next year when we come back here, I want to see that the National Urban League has created a fund specifically to deal with gentrification. I said, look, if we're going to bitch and moan about folks coming to our neighborhoods, buying stuff up, I'm sorry, don't we also know it's available? Don't we also know that somebody's trying to sell it? So if we know that,
Right.
and they know it, why in the hell we ain't beating them to the punch to buy it?
But
Now,
a lot of
that,
that,
hold on. There was a brother. It was a brother. There's a brother and sister, Reese, in Atlanta. They did a crowdfunding campaign, raised $9.7 million in a week
Okay.
to say we gonna buy up stuff in our neighborhoods.
right.
$9.7 million. All I'm saying is this here. If you apply gentrification, what's happened to our communities here, it's the exact same thing with the Chinese coming to African nations, and Lebanese, and Indians, and Pakistanis. So what are we gonna do? Just stay in here and bitch about it?
Right.
Or are we gonna say, how can we use collective cooperative action to be able to change it? That's what I'm saying has to happen.
You wouldn't even need collective cooperative action to kill gentrification. What kills gentrification is holding on to your family's property. That's a lot of it right there. See, we like the quick hit of the sale of the home, right? I mean, one of my
remember, the sale goes to, and this is where we got to be honest.
Right.
The sale goes to, we grew up in places, we move other places. We don't want to be bothered.
Right.
And so, I can do the quick buck and sale.
Right.
Somebody's going to buy it.
But Airbnb and that is changing the game.
I understand that.
Right. So now what is the excuse now? You can always figure out a way to hold on to the deed of property. And so the idea that you've got to sell the home, we like the big payout. We like that big...
Or the short term.
The short term.
Hold on, Richie, go ahead.
I would just add that that's not always the case. Some of these people, they got in a situation where the taxes were so high.
I understand.
They couldn't afford these people
I understand.
property anymore. And so it's unfortunate that a lot of blacks, particularly here in Washington, D.C., actually got into that type of situation.
Right, Risa, go ahead.
Yeah, I think part of the problem, too, is the lack of the blueprint. I mean, we don't have a lot of entrepreneurs in terms of people who have pulled capital together, this cooperative economics. That's what one of the tenets of Kwanzaa. And so the how part is really the tough part. We might have, 10,000 here, 10,000 here, 10,000 there, but how do we pull those resources together and make something happen out of that? I think that is where we really lack the ability to turn our small amounts of capital into an investment, whether it's here or...
If you can't turn
But
a house in Washington, D.C. into an investment where you can pay the taxes, you need your head examined.
But see,
Washington, D.C. is the second most expensive city in this country.
I got you.
And there's no way.
But to Derek's point.
Property here.
But here's Derek's point. The reason I understand that, there was a neighborhood called the Heights in Houston. Okay, older neighborhood, older residents who were living there. All of a sudden, yuppies started moving in, started tearing down homes, building mini mansions. Okay, you had home prices in this neighborhood that were low 100s. All of a sudden, people start coming in, seeing opportunity. It's near downtown. They started building homes that were $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Why? Cheap land. You could tear the home. You could buy it for $120,000, tear it down, build you a $400,000 house. What happens as soon as you do that? When it's time for tax assessment, your tax assessment ain't based on your house. Your tax assessment is based upon the other houses around you. Right. Many of those elderly folks who've been living there for a long time got literally priced out of their own neighborhood because of the property taxes that were around them. The point I'm making, though, is that either we can have conversations, panel discussions on stage somewhere, at universities, on social media, on television about, man, gentrification is so bad, what's happening? Or we can say, wait a minute, go down to City Hall, planning, zoning. We see what's coming down the pipeline. We see what's happening in the next 5 or so years.
There's no tax break in Texas for elderly residents.
Bottom line is, property value is based upon...
It's in New York they have
value. But y'all also got rent control. We ain't got rent control.
Yeah, but New York, you have a major tax break for elderly residents.
But what I'm saying is...
To deal with exactly what you
What I'm saying is, that's what's happening. What I'm saying to African Americans is, how do you think collectively to say, wait a minute, either we can just complain all day about neighborhoods changing, or we say, if somebody gonna buy it, we buy it. I mean, so again, we can either pick which one. And all I'm saying when it comes to what's happening in African countries, I'm telling you, I went to Ghana in 2008. When I went to Ghana in 2008, I stayed at what was then considered the top hotel. I was online before. I wonder how that hotel ranks now. The top hotel I stayed in Ghana in 2008 is now number 17 in Accra. Number 17. 750,000 people from African Americans alone go to Ghana this year. You can probably guess. You could probably guesstimate. But the plan they have is this 10-year plan. Take the year of return, institutionalize it. You can say, now, normally Ghana did 75,000 visas from the United States. 750,000 this year. The number's probably going to be closer to 1 million by the end of January. Which means that you can say, just based upon numbers, Ghana is probably going to be doing annually 250,000 from the U.S. each year for the next 10 years. That's opportunity. That's literally opportunity for African Americans to say, well, hell, black people are going to be going to Ghana. Well, I can't make, hold up. I can create my own tour company, my own travel company. Who can I connect with there when it comes to top restaurants, hotels? Again, opportunity. That's all I'm trying to get us to think about it. And again, for the people who say that's crazy, it's going to happen. This is going to happen. More black entertainers will be going to Ghana.
Yeah.
That's
Each year
going
it
to
gets
happen.
bigger.
Right. They told me that was a Christian conference It's called The Experience in Nigeria. 850,000 attended annually.
Oh, wow.
Other African nations are seeing what happened to Ghana. I've been told that there are 4 or 5 others that are saying, wait a minute, we better create our own sort of tourism focus, and not South Africa, some of the other countries. I'm just saying, I need us I just think for us, we got to start thinking differently in terms of not just thinking in this country, got to think beyond our own shores.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's what we got to do.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, as the marijuana momentum continues, our folk, the friends at marijuanastock.org, have already reached more than half their funding goal for the hemp CBD investment. That's right. If you want to take advantage of this great opportunity, you need to do so now because it won't last much longer. And now we're talking about the hemp plant, the good cousin of marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Also, if you don't know, hemp farming is now legal in the United States, creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. Now, it's an investment opportunity, and that's where the folks at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed high-paying tenants. That's right, they're hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. All you gotta do is do this here, folks. Go to their crowdfunding campaign. You can invest as little as $200 up to $10,000. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. It's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.